Charm and innocence often captivate us, drawing people in with their seemingly gentle allure. Yet beneath this appealing facade can lie deeper psychological currents, emotional domination woven through subtle manipulation. What lies beneath this seemingly soft exterior? How can something so disarming conceal an intricate shadow of power and control? These questions invite us to look beyond surface impressions and explore the hidden complexities of human behavior. One of the most influential psychologists to probe the depths of the human psyche was Carl Jung. Renowned for his groundbreaking work on archetypes and the unconscious, Jung introduced the concept of the shadow, the darker, often unconscious parts of ourselves that we tend to reject or hide. Among his lesser-known but profound insights was the idea of the feminine shadow, a facet of the psyche that encapsulates suppressed emotions, desires, and modes of interaction that society has historically overlooked or misunderstood. Though Jung's reflections on the feminine shadow were formulated decades ago, they remain strikingly relevant today. This shadow often reveals itself in emotional dynamics, particularly in the form of covert manipulation, subtle, indirect ways individuals influence others while maintaining an innocent or charming exterior. Understanding how this feminine shadow operates and learning to integrate it is crucial not only for fostering healthier personal relationships, but also for advancing societal well-being. In this exploration, we will delve into the feminine shadow's role in emotional dynamics, uncover its manifestations in covert manipulation, and argue for the vital importance of embracing and integrating this hidden aspect of the psyche. Jung's discovery of the feminine shadow. Carl Jung's concept of the shadow refers to the unconscious, repressed parts of the psyche that the conscious mind tends to reject or ignore. The shadow is not inherently evil or absent, but rather consists of unfinished, hidden energy that requires acknowledgement and integration for psychological wholeness. It contains aspects of the self that have been denied expression, often because they conflict with societal norms or personal self-images. The feminine shadow, in particular, emerged from Jung's observations of women's psychological behaviors that contrasted sharply with their socially expected roles. Jung noted that many women exhibited subtle emotional control, psychological dependence tactics, and manipulative behaviors often disguised by an appearance of care, vulnerability, or innocence. These traits were not seen as pathological, but rather as expressions of a part of the feminine psyche that remained unintegrated and repressed. This shadow side includes raw power, rage, dominance, and assertiveness, qualities typically denied expression in women due to cultural constraints. In many cultures, societal expectations place significant pressure on women to embody innocence, gentleness, and nurturing qualities. These ideals shape and limit how women are allowed to express themselves, encouraging them to suppress any feelings or behaviors that contradict this gentle, caring image. The repression of these denied aspects does not make them disappear. Instead, they are pushed underground into the unconscious, where they become distorted and potentially harmful in interpersonal relationships. The feminine shadow, therefore, represents the powerful and often unacknowledged emotions and drives within women that clash with external expectations. When left unrecognized, this shadow can manifest in subtle but impactful ways, through indirect manipulation or emotional control, because the psyche seeks expression even in hidden forms. Jung's insight into the feminine shadow underscores the importance of bringing these unconscious elements into consciousness, allowing for a more authentic and balanced integration of all parts of the self. Recognizing and accepting the feminine shadow is a step toward dismantling restrictive societal norms and achieving psychological wholeness. Modern psychology and covert narcissism. In contemporary psychology, the term covert narcissism has emerged as a modern label for behaviors that Carl Jung and other early psychologists observed but did not explicitly name. Unlike the more overt, grandiose narcissist, the covert narcissist operates through subtle, often hidden strategies to manipulate and control others. This form of narcissism is marked by traits such as false modesty, emotional withholding, and an exaggerated sense of victimhood, all used strategically rather than spontaneously. Covert narcissists frequently employ silence as a weapon, retreating into cold emotional withdrawal to punish or confuse those around them. They may also use selective helplessness, presenting themselves as vulnerable or incapable to evade responsibility and garner sympathy. Another common tactic is seduction as control, drawing others in emotionally only to manipulate their reactions and loyalties. Emotional expressions from covert narcissists, such as tearful breakdowns or dramatic displays of sadness, often serve a tactical purpose. These moments deflect blame and avoid accountability, redirecting attention to their perceived suffering rather than the consequences of their actions. This strategic emotionality can leave others feeling guilty or unsure how to respond. Because covert narcissistic behaviors are subtle and often socially acceptable, false modesty, vulnerability, and occasional self-deprecation are generally seen as positive or harmless. They frequently go unnoticed or are dismissed. Their manipulations are hidden beneath a veneer of humility or fragility, making them difficult to detect and address. This subtlety contributes to the enduring impact covert narcissists have on relationships, as their tactics evade direct confrontation while still exerting control. The dynamics in romantic relationships. Romantic relationships often unfold within complex emotional landscapes shaped by unconscious patterns, projections, and idealizations. One of the most pervasive dynamics is the tendency for men to project idealized versions of femininity onto women. This projection transforms women into muses or perfect partners, embodiments of an imagined ideal rather than authentic individuals. Men, consciously or not, seek this ideal to fulfill a deep creative or emotional yearning, often overlooking the nuanced reality of their partner. Meanwhile, women may seek validation or control within these relationships, responding to their own needs by reinforcing the roles men assign to them. This interplay of projection and desire for validation creates a dynamic that is both compelling and fraught with tension. Beneath these surface interactions lie unconscious scripts that both partners enact, frequently without full awareness. Neither men nor women are entirely conscious of their shadow sides, the parts of themselves that harbor fears, insecurities, or unresolved emotional wounds. These hidden aspects influence behaviors and expectations, often resulting in confusion, resentment, and emotional chaos. Couples find themselves caught in cycles where unresolved issues play out repeatedly, yet the underlying causes remain unexamined. Within these cycles, emotional manipulation tactics can emerge as misguided attempts to regain control or protect vulnerabilities. Men and women alike may resort to strategic silence, shifting blame, or playing the victim to navigate conflict or emotional discomfort. These tactics, while often unconscious, perpetuate dysfunction, and deepen misunderstandings. They erode trust and intimacy, making it harder for partners to connect authentically or resolve conflicts constructively. Men's vulnerability in this dynamic is particularly linked to an unintegrated will, a lack of inner clarity and discernment about their desires and boundaries. This vulnerability makes men especially susceptible to projection, as their idealized images of women fill gaps in their own self-understanding. Without conscious reflection, this lack of discernment allows illusions to flourish, further complicating the relationship dynamic. Ultimately, recognizing and integrating these unconscious patterns is crucial for breaking cycles of dysfunction. When both partners develop greater self-awareness and compassion for their vulnerabilities and projections, they can move toward healthier, more authentic connections that honor the complexity of their individual and shared experiences. The role of modern culture and social media. In today's digital age, modern culture and social media have transformed the way identities are constructed and perceived, emphasizing hyper-personas and curated selves. Society's obsession with appearance manifests through filtered images and carefully crafted posts, where performative vulnerability becomes a tool to attract attention. Social media platforms reward those who display emotional openness or dramatic flair, encouraging users to adopt seductive or exaggerated personas to gain followers and validation. This environment fosters an intricate dance between authenticity and performance, blurring the lines of genuine self-expression. A central feature of this phenomenon is what can be termed the inflated feminine mask, a public persona designed to project an illusion of power, charm, and connection. These personas often embody a seductive and emotionally charged femininity, crafted to captivate and control social narratives. Yet, behind this mask often lies a profound emptiness, insecurity, and unacknowledged rage. The polished exterior conceals vulnerabilities and frustrations that remain invisible to the audience, exposing the psychological cost of maintaining such facades. Culturally, emotional expression is increasingly celebrated as a pathway to influence and social capital. Society's fascination with emotional appeal encourages manipulation cloaked in charm, allowing covert dominance to flourish under the guise of vulnerability. This dynamic is reinforced by media and pop culture, which frequently showcase archetypes such as the pick-me girl who seeks male approval through performative self-deprecation, the emotionally unavailable seductress wielding control through aloofness, and the chronic victim who leverages perpetual suffering to command attention. These figures exemplify covert dominance disguised as vulnerability, highlighting how power can be exercised through emotional theatrics. Ultimately, modern culture and social media perpetuate a complex interplay between authenticity and performance, where curated identities mask deeper insecurities and societal norms reward emotional manipulation as a form of influence. This dynamic shapes not only individual behavior, but also collective understandings of power, gender, and connection in the digital era. Broader social implications. Beyond personal relationships, the shadow feminine exerts a profound influence across workplaces, politics, and media, often shaping social dynamics in subtle yet powerful ways. This hidden force manifests through behaviors and strategies that undermine trust and collaboration, while maintaining an innocent or benign outward appearance. In professional environments, for example, colleagues may engage in covert sabotage, undermining others' efforts, spreading rumors, or subtly manipulating outcomes, while appearing friendly or neutral. This shadow feminine presence fuels office politics, breeding mistrust and emotional exhaustion among team members who sense the discord but cannot always pinpoint its source. Similarly, in politics, the shadow feminine often surfaces in the form of image crafting and manipulation. Political figures may prioritize optics over truth, using charm, carefully curated appearances, or emotional appeals to sway public opinion, masking underlying agendas or contradictions. This creates a landscape where authenticity is sacrificed, and societal discourse is dominated by performative gestures rather than genuine accountability. The shadow feminine is far from rare. Rather, it functions as an unspoken engine driving many social interactions and institutional behaviors. Its subtlety ensures it often goes unrecognized and unaddressed, allowing it to perpetuate cycles of emotional harm and disillusionment. Ignoring the shadow feminine's influence carries significant consequences. Emotional destruction manifests in fractured relationships and workplace toxicity, while broader societal mistrust grows as individuals and communities become increasingly wary of hidden motives and insincere gestures. Recognizing and addressing the shadow feminine is thus crucial for fostering healthier interpersonal dynamics and more transparent, authentic social structures. Jung's caution and historical context. Carl Jung lived and worked during the early 20th century, a period marked by rigid and often hostile cultural attitudes toward gender. The dominant societal narratives tended to simplify and polarize gender roles, leaving little room for nuanced or psychologically complex discussions. Within this context, Jung's exploration of the darker or shadow aspects of the feminine, such as manipulativeness or hidden emotional depths, was particularly sensitive and prone to misunderstanding. Jung's caution stemmed from an awareness of how easily such insights could be distorted. Suggesting that women might harbor manipulative shadows risked reinforcing harmful stereotypes or being co-opted by misogynistic ideologies that sought to diminish or control women. The early 20th century was rife with gender-based prejudices, and intellectual figures like Jung had to carefully navigate these cultural minefields to avoid unintended consequences. As a public figure and pioneering thinker, Jung balanced his groundbreaking psychological insights with the need for cultural sensitivity. While his work opened new avenues for understanding the complexities of the human psyche, he was mindful not to exacerbate existing social biases or regressions. At times, he chose silence or ambiguity on certain truths, recognizing that premature or blunt revelations could provoke backlash or misinterpretation. Ultimately, Jung's cautious approach reflects both the limitations imposed by his historical moment and a deliberate effort to advance psychological knowledge responsibly without fueling social divisiveness. The path to integration and healing. Jung's solution to the inner conflicts that plague individuals and society alike lies not in suppression or shame, but in integration. Instead of pushing parts of ourselves into darkness, he encourages a courageous journey inward, towards self-awareness and acceptance. This process invites us to ask ourselves tough questions. What am I hiding? What power am I afraid to claim? By facing these truths, we open the door to healing and wholeness. For women, this path means owning intense emotions, ambition, and power without disguising or diluting them. Jung's framework challenges the pervasive myth that power must be soft, innocent, or hidden beneath socially acceptable veneers. Instead, Women are called to embrace their full spectrum of strength and complexity, allowing ambition and assertiveness to coexist with vulnerability and empathy. This authentic ownership dismantles limiting stereotypes and honors women as complete individuals. For men, the journey toward integration requires a deep shift in perception. Rather than seeing women as mere projections of fears, desires, or antagonists, men are urged to recognize women as whole, autonomous human beings. Integral to this is confronting and integrating their own shadow aspects, the unconscious parts of themselves that often fuel projection and misunderstanding. By doing so, men can break free from defensive patterns and cultivate genuine respect and connection. At the core of this healing process lies the potential to build healthier relationships. Awareness fosters honest communication and mutual respect, enabling both partners to see and accept each other more fully. It also allows individuals to break unconscious cycles of conflict, projection, and repression that often sabotage intimacy and growth. Yet, this path faces a modern cultural challenge. In an age obsessed with curated images, masks, and appearances, embracing our authentic selves requires courage and vulnerability. Moving beyond superficiality, integration demands that we confront not only the shadows within, but also the cultural pressures to hide or perform. By doing so, we reclaim the richness of our true identity, an essential step toward individual and collective healing. The feminine shadow represents a powerful, yet frequently misunderstood aspect of the psyche, often manifesting as emotional manipulation or covert dominance. These behaviors arise from unintegrated psychic energy rather than inherent malice. Recognizing and bringing this shadow into conscious awareness diminishes its hidden control over us. Integration of the feminine shadow fosters personal wholeness, paving the way for healthier relationships and a more balanced society. When we courageously face the darker parts of ourselves, we unlock genuine strength and authenticity, as Carl Jung emphasized throughout his work. His insights remain profoundly relevant today, guiding us toward deeper self-understanding and growth. Ultimately, this journey invites us not to cast blame, but to embrace self-awareness. By reflecting on our own shadows, we can transform internal conflict into empowerment, fostering compassion both within and around us. Let this be a call to embrace the fullness of our being, illuminating the path to true healing and harmony.